Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce Ng. Joyce, we had so much going on this week, including
This
Oscar
morning.
nominations. Yeah, this morning alone. It's Wednesday morning. Andrea Riseborough broke her silence, Joyce, finally, which we were waiting for because she did not go to the Oscars nominees luncheon on Monday.
She didn't. She was one of three acting nominees who didn't
Yes.
go, her, Ana de Armas, and Barry Keoghan. So a good turnout overall.
17 of 20. So we have a lot to talk about. We're going to do our BAFTA predictions, our Directors Guild Award predictions, and our Art Directors Guild Award predictions because they're all this weekend. But first, we're going to talk about the nominees luncheon because it sounded like so much fun. We did not go. I just had to watch the photos and the tweets. Love
Did
the
you
tweets.
watch the video that they...
I don't have time for 30 minutes of somebody calling up names. I looked at the photo, though. It's a great photo.
I mean, you always look at the photo.
So
Just
a
the
couple
panorama, like, come on.
So the big takeaway to me was, you know who people love? Tom Cruise.
Well, he really saved Hollywood's ass.
As Steven Spielberg said, you saved Hollywood's ass. You might have saved theatrical distribution with Top Gun Maverick. Our beloved Spielberg and Cruise collaborations, which haven't happened, I think, in 10 years, maybe or more, right? I mean, when was the last time they did a movie?
More, yeah,
Almost
like
20
War of the
years.
Worlds.
18 years. Wow.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it's also like we all know everyone loves Tom Cruise, but it's also that he's been pretty absent on the circuit so
Right.
far. So this was like his first really big appearance.
Kyle Buchanan in his write-up really leaned into the class photo thing. I feel like Kyle was, to me, is the early adopter on caring about the class photo and with regard to like pundits and people who do this. So then he kind of owns that space, and he was like, it was like, when you're doing this award circuit, everybody knows everybody because you've been at the same stupid events and lunches and everything for months. So it's like you see the same people, but Tom Cruise is like a new student coming in because he had not been very visible on the campaign trail, too busy making Mission Impossible and jumping off buildings and mountains.
And he wasn't going to go to the Globes.
Well, obviously he returned those Globes. So there he was. I gotta say, it made me watching Steven Spielberg say you saved Hollywood's ass really made me go back into thinking Top Gun could win Best Picture, Joyce. I'm still not going to let that one go, probably. We'll see if it wins PGA.
Well, yeah, like it wouldn't need to win PGA first, which is a definite possibility. That's next weekend.
Yeah, if it wins PGA, I absolutely think I could see myself predicting it to win Best Picture. People love him.
I think I have it in second in my Oscars predictions. So, I have Banshees in second. I have Top Gun in third. So
I have Top Gun in second. I love it. Love to see it, Joyce. The other thing I noticed a lot of, every year we go through who got the most applause. Not a lot, even for someone like me who loves that kind of thing. Not a lot this year that surprised me. It's like Everything Everywhere All at Once. The entire cast who is nominated, lots of applause for them. Angela Bassett, I saw, received a lot of applause. Austin Butler, Colin Farrell, the usuals.
Yeah. So the thing with the applausometer,
yeah,
is that like obviously the most famous people are gonna get the applause. So I didn't watch the 30-minute video either, but I've seen past ones, and there's hundreds of nominees there. So obviously the below the line folks, the lesser known people, the artisans, they're not going to get loud applause. And so there's going to be like long stretches where it's just a bunch of like below the line people. So they get like the nice golf clap.
Sure.
And then when it's like a big star, an actor, or, a big name director, someone, they'll get louder cheers. So it's like all relative too. But yes, I agree. Like none of those people are surprising that they got the loudest applause. And also that is in that room, it's not just the nominees, it's journalists there, and then also publicists, and they are the loudest people who will clap. And like just from my personal experience, I've never been to a luncheon, but I've been to similar events like that. There's always a fleet of publicists in the back, and they clap and cheer the loudest.
You got to bring your hype people, Joyce.
Yeah,
that's the idea. So really, yeah. So it seemed like a fun event. I would, like I said, nothing really surprised me except for Andrea Riseborough not being there, because we discussed this last week. We're like, that's going to be fun because she's going to have to maybe be there, and people are going to ask her things, and I'm sure it'd be a topic of conversation. It didn't seem like it was at all. Nobody seemed to really be that pressed about the Best Actress race at the event.
Well, it would have been different had she been there.
Right.
So I do wonder if like this whole thing hadn't happened, if she would have gone, because obviously the the party line is that she was working on the palace.
Right.
Right. Like all three of them who were there were filming.
Yes.
So, but I feel like if she really wanted to go and like this being her first nomination, it was such a surprise that like they probably could have worked it out.
I think they probably would have.
Yeah.
But I think she's been like obviously castigated in the headlines, Joyce, for getting Oscar nominated. And so she spoke out this week, today on Wednesday.
Well, it was published today.
She spoke out, I guess, when did they do this? Like last week, probably.
It says as they noted in the piece, the interview, the sit down was arranged before the backlash that followed, but the backlash was pretty immediate.
So it definitely was. I think the backlash came in waves. There was a shock.
It was like the online backlash, like the day of the nominations, and then a couple days later it was Baloney's thing, and then the investigation.
Right.
So I'm assuming they scheduled it like the day of the nomination.
I think they probably did. Yeah. Like, oh, what a shocking surprise. They're so excited.
Yeah, and then it's like, come to London, she's shooting with Kate again. So
and then it just went into the tank, obviously, for a variety of reasons that we've discussed over multiple weeks. But I would say I really enjoyed this. I would say the standout to me was Mark Maron just speaking. You
should just read this for Mark Maron's quotes because he has no fucks to give, which we already knew from his previous comments.
Great.
But this is like nothing in this piece is that illuminating if you've been following this for the past 3 weeks.
Right.
So this would only be, I guess, interesting to someone who had like a casual observer of this, because it really just lays out the timeline of how all this happened. But like we already know this stuff. But yeah, the Mark Maron quotes, iconic. So
the Mark Maron quotes are going. I will say the few things Andrea Riseborough I thought was interesting is that she doesn't actually so it seems like she spoke to Seth Abramovich. In a tea house. I thought it was I love the times we live in where she wore a mask to come into the restaurant and then took the mask off to sit, which I'm like that.
Well, it's been like that for like
it just never ceases to amuse me, I guess I would say. It tickles me to think that we still do that. But then she sat down and spoke, and he asked about like the controversy, not just the campaigning stuff, but obviously like the fact that Danielle Deadwyler and Viola Davis weren't nominated, and the perception is that Andrea Riseborough stole those spots, and what that says about the Academy and their embrace of Black actresses and performers. She didn't answer that in the interview. She had to wait to email those answers, which I was like, interesting.
Yeah, which they noted in the piece too.
Definitely noted.
Parenthetical. Yeah.
She when asked questions about the awards campaign or the conversations about race and privilege it's sparking, she hesitates, preferring to address those matters in a later conversation, which she will via email. And then one of the things she said was, I don't know what I know. I think once I have time to process everything, I might understand it a little better. Like you said, it's a lot of TikToking on what happened. Helen Hunt making an appearance as an early adopter to the movie.
Who introduced Michael Morris and Mary McCormick.
Didn't know that. So that was something I learned. It goes through a lot of her stuff and then talks about how we know the movie came out and didn't make any money, and Momentum Pictures didn't do anything, and they spent their own money to get on the Academy screening site. And then actors really embraced it.
Yeah, she was shocked by Cate Blanchett's shout out at the Critics' Choice Awards. She was like, I didn't know she knew my name. She could have called me Angela.
Correct. I'm scrolling through it.
Oh, there's a quote from Sarah Paulson, who has never met Andrea.
Yes.
But they asked her, like, why were you just, so into this performance? And she basically said that a lot of times because Andrea plays an alcoholic, like a downtrodden alcoholic in this. Right. And Sarah basically says that a lot of times when actors de-glam, there's still an element of glamour to it because they don't want to be seen in an unflattering light. So she feels like Andrea really stripped away all of that vanity.
Right. Sure. I guess so. Like I said, I thought the movie's totally fine. Her performance is totally fine. So then we get to Mark Maron's quotes. It mentions how obviously they did an investigation, how it sparked outrage and concern, and Gina Prince Bythewood and Danielle Deadwyler spoke about this. Maron doesn't really talk about that, but he does, quote, scoff at the Academy's show of concern. That's what Seth wrote. And then here's what Mark says. If they need to fix the rules around how social media works for the voting process, just do it next time. But somebody put a fire up their butts about, how could this happen? It just became loaded on a lot of levels and they freaked out. He blamed Momentum Pictures. This I thought was interesting. I mean, obviously kind of like expected, or I guess you maybe intuitively would have known this because the movie didn't really exist. But he was like, Momentum, quote, botched the submission process. No DGA submissions. The music wasn't submission. The ensemble wasn't submitted for SAG or Golden Globes or Oscars. None of us were submitted for SAG or Golden Globes or Oscars. Just Andrea for the 2 or 3 awards she was nominated for. So in light of that, when I saw this grassroots thing happening and then it delivered her this nomination, I was thrilled. It's upsetting in retrospect that this experience has become so loaded and toxic and challenged. And then he doesn't stop there, Joyce. He says a few highly paid consultants for big money campaigns for big studios got blindsided and then started a bunch of shit. Andrea, she's in it for the work, dude. I mean, if that's not clear from this woman's career that she's the real deal and she does it for the work, then you're not looking at her correctly. But now that she's targeted at the center of this fake controversy, I hope it works out in her favor.
I mean, we discussed this last week. I feel like we've been talking about her for like a month, yes. But it was like, I think it was last week because it was after their ruling on the investigation. And Kyle, he tweeted that, just like sarcastically was like, I wonder like how many actual Academy members were upset by this, or was it just, strategists because he got his share of phone calls about it, So,
yeah. And I mean, nothing he said there, I think is really wrong. I do think it's
except like you're not, I mean, I'm like, it's not surprising they like none of them outside of Andrea was submitted at SAGs. Like SAG does have a submission process, not like the Oscars, not categorized, but they do the Oscars, they send out a reminder list of the movies. So I don't remember if To Leslie was on that. Probably not.
Right. And I guess you could extrapolate from there that, like, again, like we said, the movie didn't really exist. So while she didn't get in at these other things where you're like, oh, when you look at it and it's like kind of the reason there were the expectations that Danielle Deadwyler and Viola Davis specifically were going to get nominated is because they checked off all the boxes. You could argue that that Andrea Riseborough wasn't even competing in those other things because the movie didn't exist. And so
and I also don't know how many
in a bubble
people know that you need to pay a fee to submit your stuff at award shows.
Correct. And so they did it for the Academy screening site. They said that Andrea Riseborough and Michael Moores paid like $20,000 to get it up on the Academy screener site. But so I guess you could extrapolate it out.
It's like end out all over again, just spending her own cash to send out compliance screeners. So.
Right. So you could extrapolate out that she wasn't really competing against the other competition. And so we don't actually know in a bubble how, or in a perfect situation, how that would have played out. Like maybe if Andrea Riseborough had the visibility of Till or her Woman King for the last 5 months, she might have been getting nominated here and would have been a serious contender before the Oscars, right? Like you don't know.
Well, it's like we've been saying this whole time, it just comes down to money. Like they did this because Momentum had no money.
Right.
So they went rogue and just, turned everything upside down and just used social media to do this. But what was funny in this piece, I thought, was they mentioned some like minor critics award nomination she got.
I think Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago, but they don't mention that she got an Indie Spirit nomination, which is bigger than No Offense to Chicago, but
kind of missed. For her, Andrea Riseborough, again via email, not as fire and brimstone as Mark Maron. She wrote, "Awards campaigning is as acerbically exclusive as it has always been. I do not yet know what measures will best encourage meritocracy. I've been working towards discovering them and will continue to do so." And then she later, Seth kind of goes into, like we were just saying, the Gina Prince Bythewood op-ed and Danielle Deadwyler talking about her snub as well. And then Riseborough says, she is coming to terms with what the nomination means for me and for others. Of the debate that nomination has elicited, she wrote, "It not only makes sense that this conversation would be sparked, but it is necessary. The film industry is abhorrently unequal in terms of opportunity. I'm mindful not to speak for the experience of other people because they are better placed to speak, and I want to listen. I'm grateful for the conversation because it must be had. It has deeply impacted me." I will say her comments remind me a little of Michelle Yeoh, who spoke about this last week, kind of asked about this. I think people maybe were expecting Michelle Yeoh to possibly pile on but she said, I don't know enough to make a comment. She was asked by the BBC this. I don't know enough to make a comment, but then she made a comment, Joyce. She said, I know that the Academy has always prided itself on having regulations where we all play by the rules. And if it was so easy, it could have been done before to, I'm going to bracket here, to game the system like allegedly Andrea Riseborough did here. And so I think we are all ever evolving. We will always keep evolving in how to protect our integrity. And I have great faith we will do that.
Yeah. And then Michelle also said some other stuff about how, not everyone, like she wishes Viola and Danielle could have gotten nominated.
I have that here. Yeah. She says, I love Viola and Danielle Deadwyler to the extreme. I wish honestly that we were all just getting the Oscars. It's tough. It's tough to be pitched against each other. It took me 40 years to even get a nomination. Every single actor, actress, and filmmaker pours their heart and soul into the movies, the stories they want to tell. I don't think we started the journey thinking this is what we're aiming for. The stories we want to tell are much more important than that. But then she also said, but the interviewer was like, does that mean you don't think we should have Oscars? And Michelle, great answer. I thought this was great. I want every one of us to get the Oscars. I want the Oscars. It's a validation from your peers to say, we see you, we recognize you. It's taken so long to be seen and recognized.
Yeah, I think what both Michelle and Andrea said were fair. I do agree that I think a lot of people were expecting Michelle to be a little bit more critical of it. But I also I don't know why you would expect them to be. Like they're also nominated. And it's like, and this really has nothing to do with them.
Right.
Like Andrea's thing is like the campaign is completely separate from what happened like to Viola and Danielle. Really. They just both happen to occur in the same category. But what they both said, I think it's very much about the bigger picture. And I think what happens with award season, and especially the Oscars, is people view the Oscars as the end game, as the goal. And I think it's very easy when, like Michelle says stuff like, the stories we tell are more important. It's very easy to poo-poo that and say like, oh, you're just saying that because you don't want to seem desperate to win. Like you don't want to seem like you really want the Oscar and stuff. But I do believe that's true. And like, I don't think the Oscar is the end point. It's not the goal. Like I think it's just a very prominent checkpoint, and a never-ending battle, specifically in this case for better representation.
Right.
Like, like Michelle is the first Asian Best Actress nominee, and this is the 95th year of the Oscars.
Right.
We still only have one woman of color
who
won that award. And that was 21 years ago. So, and like when Halle won, she made that comment that she was like, it's an honor for me to be the vessel. And like, because, I won this tonight, like the door's been open. No one's won since.
Right.
Like that's like, and I think, like we've talked about this before, like you might, if you like voted for her back then, you might feel like you did it. Like, it's like we finally have a Black Best Actress winner, and that was like all the headlines back then because it was like her and Denzel winning, but nothing has changed since then.
Right.
So it is about like getting the opportunity to even be in the conversation. It's not about getting the opportunity to win the Oscar. It's about getting the opportunity to do great projects and tell great stories that would put you in consideration, that like people would talk about, and to have also the financial backing of a studio.
Right.
That would help you get there too.
Which at least you would argue in the case of Viola Davis, Sony and MGM for Danielle Deadwyler, they probably did this year, right? Like there was money put.
Yeah, like they were backed by big studios, and I think it's also like again like their issue, so to speak, is like it's still, it goes back to the industry as a whole. Like there's still a lot of gatekeeping.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like
we had said. Sorry, but like we had said too, like. I don't know if we said this or when we said this. I know I've said this to you probably at least on the Slacks, Joyce, is even if Danielle Deadwyler had gotten nominated this year, all the stuff that has been said by Danielle Deadwyler and Gina Prince-Bythewood and Viola Davis would still be applicable and accurate. And so it wouldn't really have changed a thing, in the grand scheme of things, right? Like obviously.
Yeah.
So like it's
yeah,
still
like do you know about like how hard it was getting people to see The Woman King, and then people coming up to her saying that like they were basically dragged to see it and they were surprised, they loved it, and they thought that was a compliment to her.
Right.
You know, it's like stuff like that. And it's just like you need to give women of color more opportunities to tell better and bigger stories, and then it'll normalize everything too. So then it wouldn't be such like, you know, a quote unquote abnormality for you know, like were like these comments to be made, like, you know, Gina having like come up to her being like, oh, like, I didn't want to see this movie, you know, like she shouldn't be dealing with those comments. Right. But like it's just like that's not something that those people in their lifetime, in their Oscar voting lifetime, let's say, just be specifically in this case, it's like there has not been a lot of, you know, all Black female-led movies like that, especially in the Oscar conversation.
Right.
So
I'll give you another person who weighed in this week, Joyce, then we can move on to our predictions. Our pal Spike Lee, who we talked about last week with Malcolm X, had a great interview with The Guardian. And then he said a couple of things. One thing he wanted to say, hang on, I wanted to find it because I have it in here. First, he meant the interviewer mentioned how Daniel Scheinert said it was a great crime movie, Malcolm X. Remember, we talked about this last week and how it was a Twitter controversy. Spike, it says, seemed nonplussed, even amused. I never heard that description before, he said. But look, I'm not going to kill the guy. I've misspoken many times in my life too. So I'm calling on Black Twitter to give the guy a break. Because when Black Twitter gets on your ass, they get on your ass. That's Spike. And then he also talked about the Best Actress race, Joyce.
Did he though?
Well, like Michelle Yeoh, he said, I have really got nothing to say about it, but then had something to say about it. He said, I'm happy Angela Bassett got nominated. I'm happy Ruth Carter got nominated, for who a long time that was my costume designer. But beyond that, he remains tight-lipped. He says, it gets tricky when you get to with these awards things. The Academy has a history, let's leave it at that. But the whole Oscar So White hashtag definitely made an impact. The Academy, to their credit, has made changes to bring diversity to the voting body.
Yeah, I think that's also a fair comment.
Yeah, I would just say, like, Spike is not one to hold back his thoughts. So I do think that he probably
no. I mean,
he's been very
even like on his face. Like we all saw his face when Green Book won. So
he had the greatest. I saw it. I don't know why it went reviral last week, maybe, or it was the greatest thing after when he was talking. Remember at the Vanity Fair party, he was like after he won, and they asked him about like how he looked when Green Book won, and he was like, "You're English, you're British." They have a saying, "Not my cup of tea," and then he like runs around in circles laughing. I mean, just the greatest.
That was also like when because like in the press room, he also was just like downing champagne because he was
just
like,
absolute king. He is the greatest. Not my cup of tea. Holy cow.
Yeah, but so I mean, you know, this is not an immediately fixable problem.
No, and it wouldn't have been even if we had a different outcome this year. I don't think.
And even no matter who wins Best Actress this year, like okay, let's say if Michelle wins, that would be great, historic, very happy for her. But it doesn't mean things end. It doesn't mean like racism is solved. It doesn't mean systemic racism in Hollywood is solved.
Right. It will be there will definitely be a sense of that we did it, I think. There'll be
of course. And I think there'll definitely be some people thinking, you know, like pat themselves on the back, be like, I voted for her. You know, the first Asian Best Actress winner.
Yeah. So. They're like, it's like the Get Out meme. I would have voted for Obama a third time if I could. Yeah. That's what we're going to get. A lot of Bradley Whitfords in the Academy feeling good about themselves. Joyce, so that's the news. Now we want to do our predictions for BAFTA, DGA.
What are we doing first?
I think we should do BAFTA because I feel like
though that's the last one.
It's the last one, but to ask people to stick around while we're doing these other ones before we get to BAFTA seems like a great leap.
Listen, they can skip, okay?
They can definitely skip ahead, but we should start. Let's do BAFTA first. I feel like we'll have more energy for this than the others. Okay, so Joyce, we have a lot of categories here to go through. We'll go with Best Picture first. I'll go first, and you? What do you think?
Okay, well, read the nominees.
The nominees are The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, All Quiet on the Western Front, Tar, and Elvis. And Joyce, I have Everything Everywhere winning.
So I already had Banshees in here. I think I'll keep it.
Okay. I had Banshees, and I just was like, man, I don't know if anybody cares enough to think beyond everything everywhere, even in BAFTA. I feel like Banshees would win here at BAFTA. It makes a lot of sense. It's first in our odds. But I'm just like, everyone loves everything everywhere. It just doesn't seem like there's even a thought now to like expect something else to win.
I mean, this is definitely the best chance, or like, I don't think Banshees is going to win PGA. So this is basically like the last thing it can win. And it already beat it at the Globes.
Right.
So it would make sense for it to win here too. So
it makes sense. And I it obviously had a lot of nominations. I could see All Quiet on the Western Front doing really well here, but I don't think that's like a serious competitor to win. I just think everything everywhere is just like a juggernaut at this point, though I guess we'll see. I don't know. I was also like, they could give Banshees Best British Film, which I have it down for winning as well. Not that they can't.
Well, it's
just
definitely going to
double
win
up.
that. So it can win both. And not a lot of films like actually win both.
That was my thinking. So I was just like, I don't know. It very easily could win. I think it's like very close, but I'm just at this point, like, I don't really have anything other to say other than people love everything everywhere. It just seems like even across the pond, they were embracing this movie. It's not just an American phenomenon like maybe Coda was.
Well, I think like Coda was a nominee for Best Picture, but like BAFTA was the one who gave it adapted screenplay, and then it was like,
true,
it is on. So like maybe it would have like,
I don't think it would have won Best Picture though at BAFTA.
I mean, like, you don't know. Like,
I guess you're right.
It's just, I think it just peaked too late for it to make the final five.
Right.
So
Best Director, Joyce, the nominees. The Daniels, Daniel Scheinert, Malcolm X's favorite crime movie supporter, and Daniel Kwan. Then Martin McDonagh, Edward Berger, Todd Field, Park Chan-wook, and Gina Prince Bythewood. And Joyce, I'm going Todd Field. I'm going out on the limb. I think this is where he starts his ascent to winning Best Director at the Oscars. I think he wins at BAFTA.
Well, so I still have the Daniels here. I have Todd in second, but I can also see them actually giving it to Martin too. So I have him in third.
So I have Martin in third also. I feel like this is a very close competitive category. I don't think any of these guys is out in front very much.
No, and I don't think they're, I mean, like, we'll probably like after, like by like Monday, we'll say like, obviously, like, you know, like the Daniels were always the front runners, but like right now it's like, are they like really? It feels like they just kind of like slid into the front runner position because like Fabelman's has been weakening.
Yes,
you know, and obviously Steven's not here.
I just do feel like for whatever reason, and maybe this is like overestimating or whatever, I'm just like, they're all like, all of these movies, all of these directors are auteurs, but I think like based on like past director winners in the last like 5 or 6 years, Todd Field feels the most like the other director winners.
He does, and Daniels. Like even like also at the Oscars too, and it's weird because it's been a really long time where we've had a race where it doesn't feel like there is a really strong directing frontrunner.
Yeah.
You know,
what would you even say? I mean, you know this better than me. What do you think it was?
Well, I would say like the last one where it was like the Boyhood Birdman year, because it was just the industry just flipped everything and went all in on Birdman after that. But like Richard Linklater still won BAFTA.
Right.
So
I could, like you said, like Monday we could be like the Daniels are obviously the front runner and they're going to win Best Director, and they still might be on Monday. But I just think Todd Field is going to. It just makes so much sense to me. I don't know why. It just does.
I know. I want to. I don't know. Maybe I'll put him in there. I thought about it, but then I had to, because I updated this morning. But I had to move on to other categories.
Right.
So since we're doing BAFTA first, we haven't talked about DGA. So what would have to happen at DGA for you to even change anything at BAFTA?
Nothing. I don't think it has really a big effect. I think
you don't care who wins at DGA.
I don't compared to BAFTA. I think BAFTA is like its own thing. For Best
it's
actor,
like, well, yeah, because I think like Todd also, like, again, he feels like the type of prestige auteur that would be dominating in a past year. Like he's, you know, won some of the highbrow critics, but like all the regional critics have gone to the Daniels.
Right.
But I also feel like it's because people just love that movie.
I think it is. And I just keep going back to, again, not that this means a thing, but at the New York Film Critics Circle dinner, Martin Scorsese was just like, Todd Field in this movie is incredible. And he did the same thing last year for Jane Campion and The Power of the Dog. And not that it's not really comparable at all, but I was just like, I just think that Field feels so much in line with like the last few directing winners. I think he's going to just pull it off. He hasn't won a lot because you're right. Like, that's another reason why I think he actually might have an advantage a little bit, is because he's been just kind of lurking. Like, everyone's focused on Spielberg, right, in the beginning, and then the Daniels have kind of like stepped in the vacuum left by Spielberg, and the Fabelmans kind of underperforming because like everyone loves the movie, and the movie didn't direct itself, so they're obviously like a strong contender, and there is like a visual style to it. Though I think, like we've said, the thing that if you're ranking the achievements of that movie, it's like the performances, the script, the editing are probably all in front of their directing, even though they had a hand in all of it, right? Like the writing, obviously, and performances, they're directing the performances. But like their directing is definitely not high on the list, I would say, compared to like Tar, where it's like Kate and Todd are almost like neck and neck in the achievement of the film. Like the movie might not exist without Kate, but Kate doesn't exist without Todd's direction, I don't think, or the writing.
No, and it's also like the direction in Tar is just so like, I don't even know if it's like streamlined is the right word, but it's just like so confident in
Yes,
in a very specific way to that world. It's just like that world just comes alive, and it's like he knows like what the hell he's doing. Like this is like what he has always planned to do, and he's just executing it. And yeah, and the thing is like, even though like Everything Everywhere, there is a lot of tech stuff happening in there, obviously, it like the direction is still not viewed as like a tech achievement, like
right.
like 1917, like that was like a whole gimmick. Like Sam Mendes, like he was a late bloomer that season, but then he started just winning everything, except the Oscar. But it's, yeah, like I don't know, like they could easily sweep, I guess, but
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they won. Like, it would not shock me at all. I have no doubt that they could easily win and win all these things, but I'm just like, I'm going with Todd here. I'll be proven wrong, I guess. We'll see. For Best Actress Choice, the nominees are Cate Blanchett for Tar, Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere, Daniel Deadwyler for Till, Emma Thompson for Good Luck to You, Leo Grand, Ana de Armas for Blonde, and Viola Davis for The Woman King. And I have Cate Blanchett winning for Tar.
yes.
I will say, Michelle, like we said, was on the BBC. She's definitely campaigning. She's going for it. So is Kate. She was on the cover of a Vanity Fair Awards issue this week.
Kate had a lot of stuff this week. She had that cover. She was on Jimmy Kimmel.
She's
As
definitely
well.
going.
She had like I think it was a SAG screening last night too. So yeah.
I still think Kate's a front runner. I think like she'll win. I do think she'll win at SAG. Until she loses some of these, I guess I will not be convinced. But I think Michelle is a strong number two. Could easily win.
I mean, I think, no offense to the other four. I think it's just between them.
But I'm going Kate. We don't really. I guess we don't have to say that much more. I don't know. Like we'll see.
I don't know. There's like I don't know what else to say. I think like she was always expected to win this anyway.
Yes. I think if she lost this, I would say, like if she won BAFTA, nothing would, to me, it's like a great win, obviously, and like congratulations, but I'm not going to be like, well, she's locked to win I still think she's going to win the Oscar, but it doesn't really affect my opinion of that race. But if Michelle obviously ever won here at BAFTA, I would be like, oh, she's winning everything now.
Yeah, because SAG is also there, like SAG voting is still open.
Right. For Best Actor, Joyce, the nominees: Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin, Austin Butler for Elvis, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Bill Nye for Living, Paul Mescal for Aftersun, and Daryl McCormick for Good Luck to You, Leo Grand, and I have Colin Farrell winning for The Banshees of Inisherin.
Yeah, I have Austin in second just because they love Elvis and Baz.
Another one here where I'm like, we've thought Colin would win this for months. I feel like it always seemed like the one he would win no matter what. If Austin ever won this, I still have Austin winning the Oscar, but if he ever won this, I'd be like, of course he's winning the Oscar. Like it would just be like a slam dunk at that point to me. And Brendan Fraser a distant third to me here for BAFTA.
They did like The Whale a lot more than the Oscars did.
Right. Fraser's still like really ahead, I think, in our Oscar odds. I think he's still in first.
But well, by how much though? Really ahead, or
I don't know. I gotta look.
like
I shouldn't say stuff without looking it up, Joyce. Hang on. You're throwing a monkey wrench into my. Let's see.
Because he could still be in first, but
he's in first, but he's just destroying. I mean, like, he's got 2,800 first place votes versus 1,167 for Butler and 1,175 for Farrell. So even if he added them up, they still wouldn't beat Frasier. I have a hard time understanding why that's like that, but so it is.
I mean, I can see him winning BAFTA. Like,
if he won BAFTA,
I'm not going to predict it, but like I can see, like, they obviously like the whale more over there. Sure. But I don't know. Like, I would say of the two, like, obviously he has a better chance at SAG than BAFTA, I would say.
Yeah.
So I could see him winning SAG, and then so if like Colin wins BAFTA and Brendan wins SAG, that sucks for Austin. But I think like in that case I would do Colin, and I think I would switch to Colin after if he wins on Sunday, because it's just like the stronger movie, even though he's up against super baity roles.
You're saying at SAG if he wins?
No, I mean at BAFTA. Like, I don't think it matters if Colin wins SAG or not, because I don't expect him to win SAG. I have him in third at SAG. Right. If he wins SAG, great, but I don't expect him to win at SAG.
So if Colin wins, you're going to put him in first at the Oscars?
Yes.
Okay. I think I still stick with Austin, but we'll see. For Best Supporting Actresses, this one's really close. Kerry Condon for The Banshees of Inisherin, Angela Bassett for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere, Dolly DeLeon for Triangle of Sadness, Hong Chow for The Whale, and Carey Mulligan for She Said. And I have Kerry Condon winning for Banshees of Inisherin, but I'm not convinced at all that they won't just rubber stamp Angela Bassett here and have her win all the way through.
I have Angela here because I do think they might just rubber stamp her, but this is the best chance for Kerry to win, because also BAFTA is before SAG. So like, I think Angela's winning SAG.
For sure.
So they don't have an extra award show to piggyback off of either. And they also like they're not big Black Panther fans.
Well, that was kind of why I went
against. Also the first one, it only had one nomination, visual effects, and it won that somehow. So she could be the visual effects of
maybe
Wakanda Forever.
I mostly hope Dickon, because like I said, I really want Kerry Condon to win one of these and give a speech, because she's so engaging and very fun. And obviously I think Angela Bassett's going to win at the Oscars and win SAG, like you said. So it's not like any kind of like pothole on her road to victory, but I don't know.
No, like I think even if Kerry wins this, Angela will win.
If Jamie Lee Curtis wins, would that increase your odds on putting her in first?
Former BAFTA winner Jamie Lee Curtis. I have her in third.
So. Me too.
But no, actually, I don't even know how many I have Banshees winning here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I could see. So Kerry will make it 5. I mean, that's like a moderate amount. Like a lot of films have won 5 there. So.
For supporting actor choice, not a lot here, probably, I would guess, but Ke Huy Quan for Everything Everywhere, Brendan Gleeson for The Banshees of Inisherin, Barry Keoghan for The Banshees of Inisherin, Albrecht Schuch for All Quiet on the Western Front, Michael Ward for Empire of Light, and Eddie Redmayne for The Good Nurse. And I have Ke Huy Quan winning for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Nothing to say. Congratulations to him.
Loving him on the awards luncheon. A lot of selfies. I saw he was pumped to get a pic with Tom Cruise. Hell yeah. Can't wait.
He needs it for the gram. So yeah. He was on Colbert last night too. So
he's all over.
I love everyone, going from LA, making the pit stop in New York, and then going to London.
Pretty classic.
Yeah.
For Best Original Screenplay, the nominees are Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Tar, Triangle of Sadness, and The Fabelmans. And I have Banshees of Inisherin winning here over Everything Everywhere All at Once. So I don't know if I'll have this at the Oscars. I think I'll have Everything Everywhere at the Oscars.
Yes, another one for Martin.
Mm-hmm.
So
for adapted screenplay, nothing else to say there, I think, really. And just like for adapted screenplay, the nominees are Living, All Quiet on the Western Front, The Whale, She Said, and The Quiet Girl. And I have Living winning, Joyce.
I do as well.
I have All Quiet in second. I think there's a case to be made for it to win, and I actually think it can win at the Oscars too. But for now, I'm doing Living. I'm sticking with Living here.
Well, those are the only two Oscar nominees.
Yes.
But I think Living is the better script. And
It's also
obviously
very
like
British.
Kazuo Ishiguro, Nobel laureate, just legendary novelist.
Yes.
And yeah, I don't think it will win at the Oscars, but I think it could win this.
Definitely. For Best Cinematography, Joyce, the nominees are All Quiet on the Western Front, Top Gun Maverick, Elvis, Empire of Light, and The Batman. And I have All Quiet on the Western Front winning.
I do too.
I have Empire of Light in second, and I actually think it could win, but All Quiet, I think, is pulled ahead here as like a cinematography frontrunner in the wake of the egregious Top Gun Maverick snub.
I don't even think it's that. I think they just like, I mean, it's a very well shot film. It's very pretty, but they also just like war movies. And I think it's gonna win more than just like film in a non-English language.
Yes.
It has 14 nominations.
Next up, we have Best Costume Design. The nominees are Elvis, Babylon, Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, All Quiet on the Western Front, and Amsterdam. And I have Elvis winning.
I do too, but I did think about Mrs. Harris.
I have it in third. I have Babylon in second. They did like Babylon more than a lot of other groups.
But I don't know if that's like the type of costume
No.
that they would award. So I have Mrs. Harris in second.
Nice. I think that'll be a really competitive race at the Oscars. I guess we'll talk about that another time, but it's a good category. For Best Film Editing, the nominees are Everything Everywhere, Top Gun Maverick, All Quiet on the Western Front, Elvis, and The Banshees of Inisherin. And I have Everything Everywhere winning.
I have Top Gun.
Wow. I have Top Gun in third. I have All Quiet in second.
So this is like the two things they love are war movies and racing movies. I know like Top Gun, they're not actually racing, but it's like fast cars, fast planes.
Right.
So it's like the sleeker, pacier editing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it could still win.
I mean, would love to see it. I'm basically just following the herd here with Everything Everywhere. I don't think I would personally pick it as my favorite nominee of this category, but
it has the most editing.
Has the most editing, so that's why I went with it. But we'll see. For makeup and hair, Joyce, the nominees are The Whale, Elvis, The Batman, All Quiet on the Western Front, and Matilda. And I do have The Whale here, but I'm not really feeling great about it.
I have Elvis.
Okay, that's what I have in second. I should put it in first, but I'm going to stick with The Whale just because. But I think you're right. I think Elvis can win. I also think Elvis can win at the Oscars here.
I think I have Elvis at the Oscars.
Not The Whale, yeah. For Best Production Design, Elvis, Babylon, All Quiet, The Batman, and Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. And here I have Babylon winning.
I have Elvis, but I really thought about All Quiet because 1917 won this over Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which won the Oscar.
Sure. So Babylon is the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood of this year, and All Quiet is the 1917 of this year.
I know, but yeah, I think I have Elvis winning 3 total, right? Yeah.
Elvis is first in the odds, so it definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
For Best Score, Babylon, The Banshees, All Quiet on the Western Front, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, and Everything Everywhere, and I have Babylon winning.
I do too, and I really thought about putting All Quiet in first as just another category that it could win.
Certainly could win here. I just think we've all decided that Babylon's winning Best Score, and I don't think people are putting a lot of thought into this category anymore.
It's like, I mean, he's also not facing John Williams here, but I don't even know what I have in. I think I have Babylon in first place. Like I don't have John
most people
Williams.
have it in first place at the Oscars too. It just seems like, yep, Babylon.
So
I love to see it. I love Justin Hurwitz. I interviewed him, Joyce, so obviously I'm going all the way with him.
I could still see him like losing the Oscar. I don't know. to what though. Yet. I could also see Banshees winning those, like Carter Burwell.
I had Banshees in third. I think it could win.
So
for best sound, All Quiet, Top Gun, Elvis, Avatar, and Tar, and I have All Quiet winning.
I do as well. Just, war.
Love War.
Yeah.
Visual effects, Avatar, Batman, Top Gun, Everything Everywhere, and All Quiet. I have Avatar.
Yes.
This is one of the most locked up categories in the history of awards.
Is this more locked than Key?
Yes. Not a soul on earth will expect Avatar to not win here. In any award show, in any category, it's obviously going to win. They shouldn't even...
I also love that Big Jim did not go to the luncheon. So
he was like, I'm not doing this.
He's counting the millions from the Titanic re-release. So.
I'm not doing this shit. I got to go see Titanic in 3D HDR, whatever, and with the RDX or with the water splashing on my face. This one is fun. Best casting, which we had this at the Oscars. The nominees are Everything Everywhere, Triangle of Sadness, All Quiet, Elvis, and After Sun. And I really had a tough time with this, but I went Everything Everywhere. I have After Sun in second, though.
I have Everything Everywhere too, but I have After Sun last.
I think you could get it. I think it would win.
I have Triangle in second.
Triangle is in second in the odds. Everything Everywhere feels like it would win here, though, right?
Yeah, I don't know, because I feel like this is not as obvious as last year. Like last year, I was like, West Side Story is winning this, like easy.
Right.
Just based on like the lineup last year.
Right.
But this, I think you can make a case for like all of them.
I think you can make a case for all of them, honestly. I really do. It's a good category.
So I don't know. Maybe Elvis might have the hardest sell, but
I don't know, because it's like you think about what are they awarding here? It's not ensemble, it's casting.
No, it's it awards the casting director.
Right. So it's like Elvis actually should be very high up, because not only are you finding Elvis, but a lot of the people in the movie are not famous, right? Like almost like you're really finding people.
But I think I'm just thinking in the mind of a voter.
Right.
Like they just think of like Austin Butler and Tom Hanks.
Right. No, you're right. I don't disagree, but it is like a little more nuanced.
Yeah, whereas like the cast of these other films, like, except for like Michelle and like JLC, and then maybe like 20 minutes later you realize that Kiki Kwan was in two of your favorite movies from your childhood. Like, like most of these casts are like quote unquote unknowns, or like not like really famous, like A-listers. So I don't know.
For animated feature, this one, they only have 4 nominees, and I don't think we're going to spend more than a second on this. Pinocchio, Marcel, Puss in Boots, Turning Red. Pinocchio is going to win.
Yes.
Great. For documentary feature, this one is tough. So Moon Age Daydream is the first in our odds. The other nominees are All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, Fire of Love, All That Breathes, and Nalvani. I don't know, Joyce. I have Fire of Love winning. I have no idea, though.
I have Moon Age Daydream.
Sure. I mean, I would have thought like it makes sense because David Bowie. That was the thinking. He's British, right? Or they like him in England. So I was like, great, that would be doing it. But I'm just like, I don't know if there's a lot of enthusiasm for that movie. I just don't. I mean,
I don't know either. And like it's also, this is we've been, I guess, I don't know, spoiled last couple years, where there's a pretty obvious winner in or I don't know.
No, I don't know. I think, but then you go through them. I'm like, All the Beauty and Bloodshed. Nan Golden got a big applause at the Oscars luncheon, Joyce. So maybe that's something. I put All That Breathes in third because I feel like that's been everywhere and people really do like it, and it's like a serious movie. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's like last year, like we all knew Summer of Soul was winning, and then like My Octopus Teacher, just everyone loved that movie.
I mean, I'll be curious to see what wins. I put Fire of Love in just because I'm like, it feels like quirky, but like a little, warm-hearted.
I have that in second, actually. I have All the Beauty in third, which I think I have in first at the Oscars.
Yeah. For foreign film, is that what we call it? But I guess it's film not in English language, right? Is the actual thing for BAFTA. on our prediction center. It's foreign film. It's All Quiet on the Western Front, Decision to Leave, Argentina 1985, The Quiet Girl, and Corsage. And here I have All Quiet on the Western Front, another lock of locks.
Yes. And I don't think this will be the only award it wins, even though it doesn't seem like it might win other ones. I don't know.
Yeah. For Best British Film, we talked about this already. Banshees of Inisherin, I think, is going to win, but the other nominees are Living, Aftersun, Good Luck to You, Leo Grand, Empire of Light, Matilda, The Wonder, The Swimmers, See How They Run, and Brian and Charles.
Yeah, Banshees.
I have Living in second, but it's a distant second. And then the last one we're going to do in our predictions before we go to the other guild stuff, Joyce. Rising Star. Great category. Daryl McCormick, Naomi Ackie, Amy Lou Wood, Emma Mackey, and Sheila Ateem. I have
this is voted on by the public. So,
correct. So I have Daryl
votes.
I have Daryl McCormick winning, but I could see Naomi Ackie winning. I have her in second.
I guess I put Amy Lou Wood in here when I did this.
So she's amazing in Living, and I'd love to see it.
I'm just gonna keep her here because I suck at this category because I don't know what the British people like.
She was on Sex Education, I believe, also Amy Lou Wood.
Yeah. Last year Lashana Lynch won.
Yeah, that's why you maybe go to Sheila Ateem, her Woman King co-star. I don't know. I loved Amy Lou Wood. I was when I saw Living at Telluride, Joyce, I was like, Best Supporting Actress, let's go. But it never happened.
You put her in for a hot second.
I did. She's amazing in it. And she gets to share all her scenes with Bill Nye, who's
she's very good, but just
no one cared about the
movie. It was just all about Bill.
It's just all about Bill. They could have. Yeah. I think if Living came out in 1999 or 1998, it would have gotten 5 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture. It would have been an easy one to imagine. Just going the Academy feeling excited about, but in 2023, nobody cared beyond Bill and the script.
I don't know. So I think she could win a second BAFTA because she has a TV BAFTA already.
That'd be great. And that's our BAFTA predictions, Joyce. We did it. Not bad. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, nothing will be surprised. If my picks are wrong, I'd be sure. I'm sure the people who win would be very expected otherwise. There's a few categories, it seems, that are up for debate. But next up, we have, do you want to do Directors Guild?
We're going to go back in time.
Yes.
Directors Guild and art directors are on the same day.
Right, on Saturday. BAFTA was first on Sunday. Do you want to do all the categories or just the film ones?
We could do all of them. Don't be rude.
I respect it. All right. For film director, Joyce, at the DGA Awards, the nominees are Steven Spielberg, first in our odds, Daniel and Daniel, Todd Field, Mark McDonough, and Joseph Kosinski. And here I have the Daniels winning.
I do too, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like I should just predict them for both this and BAFTA, and then just see what happens.
I'll predict them here. I think it feels like they would win here. I have Todd in second here, and I have Spielberg in third. I
have Steven in second. I think he could. I mean, this is the only thing he can win until the Oscars.
Right.
And they do love him there. He has the record number of wins and nominations.
If he wins, you're still, like you said, you're not going to change anything.
No, that wouldn't be enough to convince me he's winning the Oscar.
Okay.
But if Todd wins, then
if Todd wins, let's go. What about this scenario, Joyce? Todd wins BAFTA, Steven wins DGA. Do you still think the Daniels win at the Oscars?
No. I mean, they can, I guess, because I still think their film is stronger than theirs. But no, we just because when was the last time there was a DJ BAFTA split? Was it Birdman and Boyhood? So that went Birdman,
right,
at DGA. So I don't know, but because then in that scenario, like that would probably be Fableman's only win. So he would just be Jane Campion again, except his film was weak,
Right.
basically the whole time. And he wasn't sweeping. But that would definitely be something that I think would happen if you told like a casual that, oh, Steven Spielberg won the Golden Globe, DGA, which most people don't even know what it is, and the Oscar. And they'll be like, yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, if you're like, we are looking at this like very much in the weeds. If you take like a 30,000-foot view of this, if
Yeah.
you told a regular person that Steven Spielberg won Best Director for Fablemans, they'd be like, sure. Like they would be like, what's Fablemans? And then would be like, okay, yes.
So, quick story. On Monday was the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania screening.
Yes, I was there. I didn't see you.
I was there too. We did not see it. We were in a gigantic IMAX theater.
It was huge.
Yeah, so big. But anyway, the guy next to me, because obviously you have to get there early, and like we were like sitting down like 40 minutes before the thing started. So this guy next to me was talking to his friend, covering a lot of topics like Super Bowl. They were dream casting Fantastic Four.
What they come up with?
They said Penn Badgley.
Come on.
I know. Amanda Seyfried, or Rachel Brosnahan. And then the friend was like, Rachel Brosnahan. He's like, I don't know. I just saw it on TikTok. So like, whatever. But anyway, the last like 3 minutes, they got onto the Oscars. So then like the guy directly next to me, he was like, he loves Tar. So he's like, Kate should win. It's like either her or Michelle Yeoh, but Kate should win. He said like, you know, Key's winning supporting actor. Angela's winning supporting actress. And he said Colin should win Best Actor. He thought Austin was good. He said Brendan was fine. He also loved After Sun, but he's like, Paul's not winning.
Wow.
And
real film Twitter in person. Good God.
Like, yeah. And then like so that like he was just like Trump his friend. Oh, they spent a lot of time on supporting actor because then they got onto Fablemans and they were talking about like Judd. They couldn't believe that like Judd got in just for that one scene because they thought it was great, but they preferred Paul Dano.
Sure.
Obviously. So then they were talking about that category, and it was like they were like it should have been like double Fablemans and double Banshees, and then they couldn't remember the fifth nominee. So then he actually Googled and was like, "Oh, Brian Tyree Henry."
Wow, the disrespect.
I know, but then they were talking about Fablemans and how great it was, and they love Steven and they think Steven should win, and they were talking about like the divorce scene, you know, like the mirror shot that he did and stuff, and then he was like, but talk about good directing. You know what else was good? The Juilliard scene in Tar. So like Todd Field should also win.
That's a great scene. It is definitely like a great scene.
So those were his two favorites.
Those are the normie takes, or is that film Twitter takes?
Those were, I mean, like he, you know, he also appeared to be a Knicks fan. He had a Knicks cap on. So he seemed to know a lot of stuff, obviously. Okay. So I don't know what I would say he's like specifically film Twitter, but yeah.
Did you like Ant-Man, Joyce?
I did. And I think it's getting a bad rap. You know, I know the reviews have not been great, but I was like, I don't know what people are expecting from this, because like I always like the Ant-Man franchise because it was low stakes and kind of like standalone, and that was the first two. But like obviously this one is the first film of Phase 5, and they're gonna set up Kang and everything, so it's bigger in scale, no pun intended. It is very busy.
It is. I gotta say, I might have liked it more than the last Thor, and also maybe more than Black Panther.
I think it's definitely better than Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yes, and I kind of think it's better than Black Panther also.
It's Wakanda Forever. Well, it's shorter, which I also love.
So that was the thing.
The Ant-Man films are like 2 hours. You're in and out, which are great.
Right.
So, and it's also not as much exposition as Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Even though obviously they have to give a lot of backstory to Kang and Janet and their time in the quantum realm. But
I really enjoyed Jonathan Majors, but I also really enjoyed MODOK. I can't really spoil it, I guess, but what a great character.
No, it's been out there.
Yeah, very fun.
They've already they've done interviews about it, so
very fun. So Peyton Reed, great job, but not winning DGA. So I'll have Daniels winning here. Next category is first time director, Joyce. I think we probably have the same person. The nominees are Charlotte Wells, Alice Diop, John Patton Ford, Audrey Diwan, and Antonetta Alamet Kuzanjanovic. And I'm gonna have
Charlotte.
Charlotte Wells. Sure. Seems great. I have John Patton Ford in second and Alice Diop in third. They're flipped in our
I have Alice in second and Audrey in third.
Wow. People loved Emily the Criminal, Joyce. That's my take.
They do, but I think like they also love Saint Omer and Happening too.
Sure.
I feel like I've been talking about Happening for 3 years.
I mean, certainly he's been out around for a while.
Yeah.
For feature film documentary director, we have it by film titles. So I don't actually have all the nominees for these. It's All Beauty and the Bloodshed, which is Laura Poitras, Fire of Love, Saradosa, All That Breathes. I forget the director's name. Navani, I forget the director's name, and Retrograde, I forget the director's name. So, congratulations, those unnamed.
Well,
directors.
I talked to the All That Breathes director, Shanok Sen.
Oh, nice. So you're
but
predict him.
I am not predicting him because I'm not you. So
yeah. I have All the Beauty and the Bloodshed winning here with Laura Poitras.
I do too.
And I have Fire of Love in second. So that's that. Now we go to TV, Joyce. TV directing. The nominees there are Severance, The Wee We Are, Better Call Saul, Ozark, Euphoria, and Severance, Hide and Seek. I have The Wee We Are, which I believe is the finale, directed by Ben Stiller.
It is. So I obviously initially had Better Call Saul in here because, I had to. But I've since switched to Ozark.
Wow, Jason Bateman, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
Why not?
So, like, I think it's his third nomination. So I feel, So the first time he lost to our guy, Adam McKay, for Succession, the pilot. And then the last time he lost to Leslie Linka Glatter for Homeland. They love the girl Leslie. So, but they always nominate him. So I feel like this is like their chance to finally award him. Like, I don't necessarily know if this is a lock for Ben. I think everyone is assuming Ben is going to win.
Yes.
So I don't know.
I don't think it's a lock, but I mean, like, I don't have any reason to think.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he won. Yeah, like he won for Escape at Dannemora.
For comedy directing, nominees are White Lotus, Barry, The Bear, Wednesday, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and I have White Lotus winning.
I obviously have to go with my guy, Bill, for 710 North.
Let's go. I think Mike White will win, though, pretty easily.
He lost last year to Hacks.
Right.
So.
Makes me think that's even more of a reason why he'd win.
Because he lost last year.
Yes. Yes.
Bill has never lost.
Would be great for Bill to win, but next we have TV movie miniseries directing. The nominees are Weird, Station 11, Unbroken Circle, which is the finale, Obi-Wan, Inventing Anna, and Station 11, Who's There? And Joyce, I'm going out on a limb and having Inventing Anna win.
Okay. Love that this is the second year in a row that Station 11 is competing here because they aired in December 2021 and January 2022. So last year, Hiro Murai was nominated.
Yes.
I'm not confident in this at all. And I don't know like who else to go to. But I have Weird, and I don't actually think it's winning. But
so this is how I came to Inventing Anna. I think the Station 11 nominees knock each other out, right? So they're probably going to split the vote. Weird, I don't think would win. I don't think it would. I don't know. I mean, I interviewed the director.
I don't think it would either, but I'm just like, I don't
love him. He was a great story. He did a lot of work. We had him on our DGA panel. It doesn't seem like the type of movie or thing that would win here. That's basically the bias I feel against comedy.
Yeah, that's the thing, because it's a movie, and I feel like I guess I should just do Obi-Wan then.
So Obi-Wan would be the choice, but I'm also like, do we think Obi-Wan is gonna win? Obi-Wan was not even like the most popular Star Wars thing from last year. So then Inventing Anna by default, I have winning. It's the most popular show of this group. And sure, why not? It is not, you can't, I mean, the content of the show aside, it's not badly directed, I don't think. So I have it winning. It's a completely unhinged reasons, but there you go. I don't even, is everyone just predicting Weird? Weird is out in front, and in the Station 11 finale, which is absolutely beautiful, would be the second choice. but I think they're going to
I mean-
split the vote. I just do.
So last year, Barry Jenkins won this.
Right. And now this year it's going to be Eric Apple for Weird.
Should I just do Obi-Wan because she directed the whole thing?
Sure.
Because the
Deborah
last
Chow is a
couple
great
winners,
director.
it's like kind of at the Emmys. It's like if you direct the whole series, you
Right.
win.
Yeah, no, she's great. Deborah Chow's great. I just think people didn't care about Obi-Wan that much.
I mean, I don't disagree, but like, Andor is an ongoing series.
Sure.
It's not here.
Sure. No, I know.
Yeah, this is compared to last year's lineup.
not great. For TV variety series directing, the nominees are SNL, Last Week Tonight, Late Show with Colbert, Daily Show with Trevor Noah, and Real Time with Bill Maher. And I have SNL winning.
Yes.
Nothing else to say.
I don't know.
And that's it. I think we've reached the end of the line on directing.
That's a DGA now.
Art
80.
Directors Guild.
The most important one.
A lot of categories. Let's go. I haven't touched this since I did them. So I'm going to do
I just did them this morning.
I'm going to do some live updates if I don't like the way things look. But first up, film period design. The nominees are Elvis, Babylon, All Quiet, Fableman's, White Noise. And I have Babylon winning.
I have Elvis and I have Babylon in second.
Seems likely. But I'm going to go Babylon because I think Babylon's winning at the Oscars in production design. And so there you go.
Sure.
For fantasy film fantasy design, the nominees are Avatar, Black Panther, Everything Everywhere, The Batman, Nope. And I have Black Panther, Wakanda Forever in first. But I'm actually going to change that to Everything Everywhere All at Once and have that winning. Sorry to Avatar. I have it in second.
I have Avatar and I have Black Panther in second.
Somehow Black Panther not nominated for the Oscars. Hannah Beachler just didn't make it. I don't understand. I would say the work she did in this one is
I mean,
better
I explain my reasoning for dropping it.
I know. But for film contemporary design, the nominees are Glass Onion, Top Gun, Bardo, Tar, and Bullet Train. My beloved Bullet Train, but I have Glass Onion winning. Top Gun in second.
I thought about Top Gun. I have in second. I also have Glass Onion. I also thought about Bardo.
Would be great. Good production design in Bardo.
Yeah. So
I
don't know. I think like Top Gun is the cleanest, but Glass Onion is the flashiest.
Right. For animated film, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Marcel the Shell, Puss in Boots, Turning Red, and Lightyear. I have Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio first.
Not your daughter's favorite film, Lightyear?
No. Good God.
I also have Pinocchio, obviously.
It seems like it would be shocking if it lost. What do you think?
Yeah, like it got in at BAFTA. I don't know. Nothing else to say.
No. Next is, oh no, did I close it? There it is. TV, Joyce. Period, 1 hour period, single camera. The nominees are The Crown, The Gilded Age, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Pachinko, and Peaky Blinders. And I have The Crown winning.
I do too.
Not a great season for The Crown, but great art design.
I mean, I think I don't remember when they split this because it used to be combined period and fantasy.
Right.
But I think Maisel has won this before. But I have The Crown.
Next is TV 1 hour fantasy, single camera. House of the Dragon, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, Andor, Wednesday, and Stranger Things. I have House of the Dragon winning.
Last year, this was very deservedly won by Loki.
Yes.
But I also have House of the Dragon.
I actually have Andor in
House
second.
of the Dragon.
I have Andor in second.
I do too. And I have Lord of the Rings in third.
Same. For TV 1 hour contemporary single camera, the nominees are Severance, White Lotus, Euphoria, Better Call Saul, and Ozark, and I have Severance winning.
Yes. I have White Lotus in second.
For TV or
I
movie,
think Ozark has won this before too. So
it could, but Severance I feel like is actually like really
well, yeah, because it's like, you know, Lumon. So
for a TV, movie, or limited series, nominees are Station 11, Cabinet of Curiosities, Obi-Wan, Moon Knight, and Disney's Pinocchio, not to be confused with Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I have Station 11 winning.
same. I just picked that by default, really. But it's a you know, good production design too. But yeah.
For TV, half-hour single camera comedy. Yes, right? Okay. Or just, I guess, half hour. It doesn't have to be a comedy, but they're all comedies. Our Flag Means Death, Only Murders, What We Do in the Shadows, Hacks, and Emily in Paris. And I have Only Murders winning.
I thought about that, but I did What We Do in the Shadows because it's won the past 2 years.
Third in our odds. Number one in our odds is Our Flag Means Death. I could see that because there's a pirate ship, so it means like you did some art design, art direction.
But yeah, that I feel like no one has talked about that show. I mean, not that it can't win, but I'm just like, I haven't thought about that show since like last spring.
I agree, and I think that's why it's not a serious contender here.
Yeah.
For TV multi-camera, the nominees are The Neighborhood, How I Met Your Father, The Conners, United States of Al, and Bob Hart's Abishola. And I have The Neighborhood winning.
I have Himyeth.
I have it in second. I could see that happening.
So I don't think Himyam ever won, but it was basically nominated like every year.
Right.
So.
And then I think that we have one more. TV variety or competition. SNL, RuPaul, a Black Lady sketch show, Lizzo's Watch Out for the Big Girls, and Waffles and Mochi. And I have SNL, like you said.
Congratulations to all the nominees.
And Joyce, now we can close out with some listener emails. I got some and I remember to read them. You could email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Here's an email from Harold and Maud.
Wow.
They write, I'm a big fan of the podcast and I'm always looking forward to the new episodes. My question is about best cinematography and if Bardo has any chance to win that award. All Quiet on the Western Front seems like a strong frontrunner, but it's missing the ASC nomination, and a film hasn't won the Oscar without that since Pan's Labyrinth. Bardo certainly has the showiest cinematography, and Darius Kanji is a very respected person in the industry. Do you think it could overcome the divisiveness of the film?
Sure.
I gotta say, Harold and Maude made me want to pick Bardo. I don't know. Like, it could easily win. I don't know.
But also, like, why specifically Bardo?
Why not Empire of Light?
Or Tar?
So.
Or Elvis. Do you still have Elvis winning?
I do. But it feels like any of these movies could win.
Yeah, because that's what happens when, you know, the person who has been sweeping is snubbed.
Right.
Yeah, like I have All Quiet here because Top Gun is not here.
Right.
And you know, like James' friend did win the BSC, not the ASC.
Right.
Although every time I see BSC, I just think of Babysitter's Club. So, but he won the British version. So, but I think like he probably missed ASC because like that was such a late breaking film for people too. So, but like I don't think people are like not going to vote for him because he wasn't nominated there.
Right.
You know, so it like, and you know what, 16 years, it's like that's a long enough time for the stat to be broken.
Right.
I mean, like Pan's Labyrinth, we talked about this on Oscars Playback. That was just like a weird year for that movie.
Yeah. Next email comes from Joe Silva, who writes, hey guys, enjoyed last week's conversation, which was about Andrea Riseborough and all these other things, I think. Question, I noticed on my Facebook feed that a couple of years back, the Oscars were held as early as February 9th. That said, what impact do you think the other award shows like BAFTA and SAG are having on Oscar voting now that the show is now happening in March. Joyce, what do you think? Anything? We talked about it here with BAFTA a little.
Well, yeah, SAG voting is still open after BAFTA
Right.
announces its winners. And SAG has the largest body, so like who knows how many people turn in their ballots on the last 5 days.
Right.
But like, I mean, I think like everyone is aware who wins what, but like 3 years ago when I was on February 9th, that was just so packed. Like every weekend we had an award show. You know, it was like the Super Bowl and the BAFTAs were on the same day. And then like the day before, it was like the WGA Awards. And if you recall, like they had to do all the film awards first. So like the BAFTA nominees could take a red eye to London to go to the BAFTAs. And that's when we got Bong Joon-ho and Taika Waititi, their iconic airport shots. So I mean that was just like an intense calendar. But I think like, you know, the longer calendar is good in that I think it gives people more time to check everything out if they haven't yet, you know.
That's the
and
hope.
then and then like, you know, maybe feelings change. Like I think, you know, last year the ceremony was on March 27th, and I think, you know, like Coda benefited from the long lag time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like so like people, you know, after one SAG, like people discovered the movie, they started watching it more. So I guess like this year there's only 2 weeks in between because SAG is the 26th.
Mm-hmm.
So then WGA is the 5th. And then Oscars are the 12th, and voting starts March 2nd. So yeah, I mean, you could say there could be recency bias, but I still think like if you have a favorite in whatever category, you're probably going to vote for your favorite and not necessarily what just won an award.
Right. We like to hope that they're going to vote for their favorite, right? I mean,
I think they do. I think like you might only be swayed by what just won an award if you're really just apathetic about a category. Like you don't really care either way, and you're like, oh, like they just won BAFTA, so I'll vote for them.
Right. Last one, Joyce. You can email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. This one's great. It's from Tony, Coca-Cola. Tony writes, love your work and intrigued by Joyce's dream award system proposal. To contextualize this, last week, Joyce, you suggested everyone votes at like the same time. They lock up the results in secret. Yeah. They lock up the results, and then they kind of release that after a period of time. So no one is influenced by other people, basically. So love that idea. Given that the only decent way to determine a film's worth is over time, how about this for a system shakeup? The Oscars should be awarded 10 years late.
So, I think we've talked about this before, where they're on one of these or like an Oscars playback, yes. Where like I think I might have said maybe like 5 years.
So you know? This year we would award films released in 2012, and then he asks what films' performances hold up after a decade. Now we haven't done an Oscars playback on the 2012 race because it's a little too recent. But do you want to look at these movies that won quickly? And
are you going to vote for Argo?
I really did like Argo, and I didn't look at the whole full year of movies, so I don't want to say like I'll just look at the Best Picture nominees that year were Argo, Amour, Beasts of the Southern Wild, Django Unchained, Les Miserables, Life of Pi, Lincoln, Silver Linings, and Zero Dark 30. That is an awesome lineup. It's like really a lot of bangers, I would say.
But you would vote for Argo.
I would probably right now vote for Lincoln or Silver Linings. Those are my two favorites of that year. Probably Lincoln. It's the one I've seen the most, honestly.
I love Lincoln. I saw that twice in the theaters.
Me too. I think like 4 or 5 times overall. But all these are great. Django, I think, is awesome. I still love it. I think it's great. Great Leo performance. Argo's fine. I never was that into it. Love Ben.
Yeah, Argo, it was just very like consensus good.
Yeah.
Like I don't know anyone who doesn't like Argo.
Totally fine.
I like Zero Dark 30.
Love Zero Dark 30.
And the controversy was dumb.
incredibly, it got totally nuked, but a fantastic movie. I remember seeing that and just loving it. I agree. I would probably put that pretty high too on the ballot.
I don't know. I would probably do Lincoln or Zero Dark 30, honestly.
I mean, look at that list of pictures, and no offense to what we got this year, but holy cow, like that is a great lineup compared to what we have this year.
I mean, like, I'm not a big Les Mis fan. Like, I don't really
stunk.
like Silver Linings.
Silver Linings I loved. I'm not surprised you didn't like it, but I really loved it.
I'm not a big DOR.
I loved it.
Outside
Beasts
of
of Southern Wild, I did not. So Beasts of Southern Wild, I think, has the most influential and probably one of my favorite scores of the last, like, definitely decade. But I don't think the movie's very good. And Amour, I'm like not super hot on, but the others are all good to very good to great.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Best director that year was Ang Lee. Obviously, we talked about this a little before. Michael Haneke, Ben Zeitlin, Steven Spielberg, and David O. Russell. I would have gone Spielberg here, no doubt.
I would have done that too. And like when Ben Affleck was snubbed, like people thought Steven was going to win because Lincoln had the most nominations.
Yeah.
So, but obviously, Life of Pi is the tech movie.
Sure. Actor this year, hard to go against the pick. It was Daniel Day-Lewis as Lincoln. The other nominees were Bradley.
I would still give it to him.
Hugh Jackman, Joaquin Phoenix for The Master, and Denzel for Flight. I think a lot of people would maybe go Joaquin for The Master, but
yeah, but I do love that Lincoln performance.
Man, he's the GOAT. It's a great performance.
Now, like I would still give him his third for this and not Phantom Thread.
I agree. Best actress was Jennifer Lawrence for Silver Linings. The other nominees were Jessica Chastain, Emmanuel Riva, Quvonjane Wallace, and Naomi Watts. I think you can make a case for Jessica Chastain. Certainly, her performance in this is much better than her performance in Tammy Faye. But
yeah,
I also love Jennifer Lawrence in Silver Linings. I don't have a problem with her winning for this, let's say.
Yeah, I don't either. I wouldn't have voted for her. Like I would have given to her this year for Causeway, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jess was good. I think the clip they played for her was when she's yelling at Kyle Chandler.
Great clip.
Right? I know, but it's so like, like baity, like that scene. But when she has like other better scenes. Like I love the scene with her and James Gandolfini, R.I.P.
It's a great movie. Should rewatch.
I think that was the clip they played for her at SAG. But I don't know. I do love Emmanuel Riva. This ceremony was held on her birthday.
Yeah.
R.I.P. too.
Supporting actor.
I might go with her.
Riva, nice. Supporting actor was Waltz for Django, kind of doing another version of Inglourious Bastards. But I got to say, and the other nominees were Alan Arkin, Robert De Niro, Philip Seymour Hoffman for The Master, and Tommy Lee Jones for Lincoln. I mean, I've rewatched Django within like the last 3 years, and Christoph Waltz is awesome in it. I do think he's great. I think most people would probably say Philip Seymour Hoffman for The Master here if they were redoing it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's like bad that Christoph Waltz won. It's a little silly because he won basically for a similar part in the abstract, at least for Inglourious, but he's good in Django.
It was also that it was like he's a co-lead and like he's in supporting, and people thought like he took a spot, the spot for Leo.
I mean, so Philip Seymour Hoffman's a co-lead too, though.
Yeah, and but it's more that like the story of Django and like it's like the two of them really.
If Django if
I mean, I don't care that he's here. So.
If Leo is nominated here, do you think he would have won?
Instead of Christoph?
Yeah.
No. I don't.
Jamie Foxx should have been nominated in Best Actor instead of Hugh Jackman. The others feel a little more set. Denzel, Joaquin, and Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, they were. I mean, the person who missed here was John Hawkes for the Sessions, but yeah, I would have been fine with a Jamie nomination, or SLJ too.
He was great. SLJ was really, really good in Django. That was a great performance.
Yeah, but like this category, it was like they were all former winners, so it was like who's gonna win again, and it was just like the the flashy like mustache twirling almost.
Well, he's like a good guy in it, right? Isn't he?
Yes, but it's like it's still a kind of like the same vein as like you said, like Inglourious Bastards. It's like the same vibe. So it's like they just,
they like that vibe. They like that vibe.
Yeah. And like Tommy Lee Jones won the SAG because Christoph Waltz wasn't nominated there.
Right. And then we'll just do anything. I guess we could do best supporting actress is Anne Hathaway for Les Mis for her one scene. The other nominees are
Amy for one song.
Sure. Amy Adams, Sally Field, Helen Hunt, and Jackie Weaver. If I was doing this again, I mean, I'm glad Anne Hathaway has an Oscar, so I don't want to take it away from her. I don't love any of the other performances enough to reconsider.
Yeah, I'm fine with her here, and I'm not super passionate about any of these either. So,
like, I'd love Amy Adams to win an Oscar, but I don't think The Master needed to be her Oscar-winning role. Sally Field as Mary Todd Lincoln was great, but fine. Helen Hunt, no. Jackie Weaver, no.
Yeah.
And then screenplay, Django won for Quentin, and Argo won Best Adapted Screenplay over Tony Kushner for Lincoln. No offense to Chris Terrio, who seems like a nice man, but get right the fuck out. That's like, get Tony Kushner.
Yeah, he should have won for that.
Oh my God.
But it was just like, you just knew Argo was going to win here.
Argo is the 2013 Oscars version of Coda.
Like, it had to carry something else without Ben.
So there you go.
So
what a list of adapted screenplay nominees. Argo, Chris Terrio is like a legitimate writer. I mean, he's done like a lot of good stuff, so I'm not like knocking it. But then Beasts of Southern Wild, Ben Zeitlin, sure. David Maggie for Life of Pi. I interviewed him for Man Called Otto, Joyce. Remember that one?
Yeah, your favorite film of December.
Tom Hanks, Best Actor. Still waiting for that one to come in. Tony Kushner for Lincoln.
You know what? It's still lighting up the box office.
For Silver Linings. Yeah, it is. It's what they call a heartland hit, Joyce, I think.
Tom Hanks still got it.
And that's it, I guess. So if you want to email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Thanks so much for those great emails. And I guess we'll talk next week, Joyce. We'll be back. What are we going to do next week? More guilds, I guess.
Well, yeah, because next week is PGA.
Right.
And SAG.
Can't wait. So we'll get all of those. It'll be so great. And maybe another Andrea Riseborough interview. We'll see if
every week there's something else.
Okay, bye.